Hey everybody, Sarah here. So this is going to be kind of a off-the-cuff, unexpected Morph deep dive video for you guys today. Today we are going to be doing the microscale deep dive. And the reason for this is because there's some very exciting news regarding this. Before I get into all of that, though, I just want to remind everybody that I do have a website, and on that website I sell snakes and merchandise, and I also have books. I will actually be referring to one of my own books a little bit today. It's going to be the first in the series. That is where I go over all the details of the different mutations, all the base mutations anyway, and then in the second book is where I go over all of the selectively bred type morphs. So if you are looking to learn about the different mutations and morphs and the difference between a mutation and a morph, my books are on my website, sarahsnakeshop.com. Also, if you like this kind of video, please subscribe and share with somebody who you think might find it interesting. So the big announcement for the microscale corns is actually a combination announcement for both microscale and scaleless, and that is that wire forest reptiles recently updated a status, actually it was yesterday, updated a status saying that they had bred their microscale to a het scaleless, I believe, and proved them to be allelic to each other. So we have yet another allelic pair to talk about. I know I've talked about allelic pairs before. The allelic pairs, they're not all just pairs, but the allelic ones that we have so far are going to be like Castagna and Sunrise, Motley and Stripe, Amel and Ultra, and of course now we have our scaleless and microscale, which completely makes sense to me. If I'm forgetting any allelic ones, oh yeah, Hypo, Strawberry, and Christmas, those are all allelic to each other as well. So we have another one to add to that. So I'm very excited for this sort of new revelation that we have. We've wondered for a long time if these were related to each other because they both modify the scales, and that's just not something that really happens very much in mutations. And so when it does happen, they are often related to each other. So that's awesome news. I'm very excited to see what goes on in the future with that. The reason that I chose to do microscale for this video instead of scaleless is because I have more knowledge of it sort of memorized in my brain. I'm gonna have to probably go read a little bit more about scaleless to remember more about it. I just was a lot more invested in the microscale thing, so I remember a lot more of it very well. To start with microscale, I just want to give kind of a brief description. What microscale does is it actually does what it sounds like it's going to do. It reduces the size of the scales from a normal size to more like sort of round, small bead size of scales instead of being your normal sort of, I want to say arrowhead kind of shape. They're kind of more, they're smaller and they're more round like beads instead of being normal shaped. And so some of the skin is exposed, especially on the face where the larger scales would normally be. And in some other patches, you will also see maybe the scales, you can kind of see through, like through where the scales are, like between the scales, and you can actually see the skin of a lot of these snakes. The original name for microscale was actually micropave, but we do not use that term anymore. It originally was found in a pure Miami line, so that's another reason I wanted to make this video as opposed to the scaleless video, because scaleless is actually not a pure corn snake mutation. Microscale, however, is a pure corn snake mutation. The original one was produced by Barbara Veldhuizen. I hope that I'm pronouncing that correctly or very close. She's from the Netherlands, and as an American, I don't know how to pronounce a lot of things from there, but I believe it's Veldhuizen. The first one was actually produced in 2010 when she bred a Miami to his Miami daughter, and of course notice that there's these really weird, micro-scaled corns that came out. She repeated this breeding the next year and got some more of these weird-looking corns. So then she decided to go ahead and breed the male to a Snow, and eventually raised those babies up, bred them together, and ended up with Amel, Anery, and Snow microscale, formerly called micropave. The gene was actually proven to be recessive in 2015 with that breeding. Since then, there has been a lot of different people getting into microscale, but when I say a lot, I mean a handful. I don't want to say a lot. There hasn't been a lot. There's really only been a handful. Since she was from the Netherlands, not very many of them made it over to America. And so the majority of the ones in America right now are actually in either Don Soderbergh's collection or Travis Whistler's collection. They do kind of share a lot of snakes and a lot of projects. So some of them might be with Travis Whistler, but I do know for sure that Don Soderbergh does have some, and he does occasionally post pictures of them here and there. He indicated a few years ago that he was also planning on, doing this breeding, but we never really heard anything back from him about it. I'm sure that he'll find the same thing, but I actually do look forward to seeing what he says regarding this. So I wonder if he breeds, his scaleless and micropave together, or I keep calling it micropave. I've always called it micropave. I just like the term better, but microscale is the official updated term. We don't use the term micropave anymore, just like we don't use the term mocha for lavenders anymore. We just don't use that term. Like we don't use the term ashy for cinder anymore. Some people might, like some people still call keys corn snake, like rosy rat snakes, but we're trying to use the updated terms here. So microscale, sorry about that. I don't know what Don has done with that pairing. I know that he's working toward it, so I do look forward to see what he produces, if it's any different, if it's exactly the same, if he, breeds the two of them together and he gets all of these sort of weird combination. I think that would be awesome. I'm gonna do a deep dive on scaleless, and once we learn more about this microscale scaleless combination, I will also be doing an updated video on that as well, but I wanted to make this video to sort of announce that and to give you guys a very short rundown on microscale. Part of the reason I haven't done that video very much is because it's pretty straightforward and you can pretty much find the history of it almost anywhere that you look online. Barbara has been really good about posting on the forums and stuff like that, so if you do go to Ian's Vivarium, you're most likely going to be able to find the full story there. And once again, the story is also in my book. I don't do a whole lot of quoting the story in my book, not for any particular reason other than it was pretty easy to summarize and break down, so I didn't have to do a whole lot of quoting. But the story is in my book. It is on the forums. I will try to go ahead and find the original story and link that down in the description for you guys so you can click it and go find it. But it is really interesting. She had this Miami line that this whole time she didn't know what was going on with the gene mutations, but she did eventually figure out that it's not so much that he carried that gene, it's that he somewhere in his line, especially when you have line bred stuff, there's a good possibility of inbreeding causing some sort of mutation, and it could be that somewhere there was just this mutation that caused this sort of hidden het that we had, and then the daughter inherited that, and then breeding them together caused that to show up visually instead of just in het form. And it is really cool to me that she was able to go ahead and breed, repeat that breeding, and the same thing happen again, because a lot of times what you'll see with these brand new mutations is the new mutation will happen, and then no matter how many times you repeat that breeding, you don't get that mutation again. It was a spontaneous mutation that only happened once, and it just doesn't happen again. So it is really cool to me that she was able to repeat the breeding and get that to happen again. And then she was able to prove it recessive a few years later using those babies. So I just thought it was really cool, and I wanted to make that announcement for you guys. Next week, I'm going to probably do a hatchling video because I have one ready and was actually going to post it today, but decided that this was probably much cooler news than like baby snakes hatching, which I do love baby snakes hatching, but I figured that could be pushed back one more week. So thank you for watching, guys. Remember, subscribe, share, do all that fun stuff. Comment down below and let me know if there's any morph deep dives that you want to see soon. Other than scaleless, like I said, I do plan to do that pretty soon in the future. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.